I remember one time at dinner, you had mentioned that you had your own shake. And we talked about it, and I said, so why isogenics? And if you can remember, you know, what you brought up at that time, it had something to do with John.
Yes. I've designed a fair few shakes. In fact, there's one on the market that's been on the market for 20 years. It's been very, very successful for the company that made it. And when I came to Isogenics, John Anderson and I discussed the shake. And there were two little things that I could never get round in designing shakes. And I said, what about, and they were in the Isogenics shake. I said, John, what about these? And he said, I know, that's a difficult problem. And he said, but I'm working on it. It took him a year, and he changed the shake to produce the myoisoline complex. And that myoisoline complex, I can tell you, is the best complex out there. John Anderson is a genius at what he does. And we should be very thankful that he heads up the design team in Isogenics.
So I have a question, which is what the difference is between whey and casein and lactose, and why it is that the shakes say that they're lower in lactose.
Right. Lactose is milk sugar. Lactose is not protein. A large number of people, especially if you are of European origin, which most Americans are lactose intolerant because of the time when they came out of Africa and the time that they developed. They lost the tolerance for lactose. Casein is the main protein in milk. Casein is the cheapest to make, the cheapest to get out, and the most abundant in milk. So it's the cheapest all round. But casein is slowly digested. And for a lot of people, casein is not well digested because of that slow digestion process. When we first found whey protein concentrate, we didn't think it would work any better. And when it did, and when it was rapidly absorbed and digested, we looked very closely at the molecular structure of it, and it was much closer to human milk than casein protein. And in fact, the people in New Zealand have worked in crossbreeding the cows to increase the lactalbumin content of the whey protein to be even closer to human milk. And that's it's superior in terms of muscle accretion, in terms of preventing muscle wasting diseases. You know, as we get old, muscles waste. It's called sarcopenia. Even if you do nothing, even if you exercise. So you need the best quality protein possible every day to stop that process. Because your muscles, people think, oh, well, what muscle? A lot of young people that I talk to young people groups, a lot of them are not interested in muscle. They're not interested, and they don't understand that half the pumping power of your heart comes from the contraction of your muscles. If you lose your muscles, then the heart has a much bigger burden of pumping to do. And half of the oxygen that gets to your brain comes from the pumping of your muscles. So if you lose your muscles, you lose oxygen to the brain. Sarcopenia is a very serious condition, and most older people suffer from it. So it's very important to have the best quality protein. And I mean, we searched the world for everything, and we tried everything that you can think of. And you will see, for instance, in bodybuilding magazines, you'll see people saying, oh, but whey protein isolate is much better than whey protein concentrate because it's purer. Absolutely it is purer. But if you have anything that's between 29% and 89% whey, then it is called a concentrate. From 90% to 95% whey is called an isolate. Beyond 95%, it's called singular amino acids. And we thought in the 1990s that if we could get the singular amino acids, we could make any combination we liked. And the Japanese started to produce them, and everybody started to use them, and the results were very disappointing. And the results were disappointing because we didn't know at that time that the human gut has a special transport system for amino acids joined together with sulfur bonds, called dipeptides for 2 and tripeptides for 3. It's a special transport system that only takes amino acids in those combinations. And by the time you get to 90% extraction for whey, all those sulfur bonds are broken, and then it becomes an isolate. And the isolate is much poorer absorbed than the concentrate. So that's why we use the concentrate. And there are a whole lot of things about it that we, even now, today, we're only just understanding the molecular structure of protein. And you have to think about this. Protein makes every single working unit in your body, every single one. There are no working units whatsoever that are not protein. All your enzymes are protein. Your genes are protein. Your hemoglobins are protein. All the rafters and beams of your body are proteins. Your brain cells are all proteins. The very enzymes I'm using to talk right now are being created second by second, and they're all proteins. 350,000 different proteins, and they're all made from the proteins that you eat. And if you eat incomplete or poor quality proteins, then you cannot avoid getting an incomplete and poor quality body. But we've only really in the last 5 years understood that it's critical. So I'm very pleased to have Isagenix, because their quality control and the amount that they spend in sourcing ingredients and then testing those ingredients and testing them with third party, it means that I don't have to look over my shoulder all the time when I'm giving these nutrients to people. I know the quality is there, and that is not the case in a large part of the nutrition market, because there is very little regulation. Anybody in this room could go and start a nutrition company tomorrow. And it was not hard to start a nutrition company and run it up to around about $300,000 a year. And there are a lot of companies out there that are like that. And they buy their ingredients off the trade market. That is a hopeless way to do it. Isagenix goes to the producers, goes to the farms, buys futures in their ingredients to ensure that they're going to get the same thing year after year. When you buy on the market, like for instance all the fast food joints buy all their coffee on the market, it changes all the time. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's poor. They have no control over it. When Isagenix buys coffee, and they haven't got a coffee product. Yeah, exactly. They've got an e-shot, but they go to the farms and they make a contract with the farmers, and they buy the futures. They contract for the future so that they know if they produce something, they'll be able to produce it consistently year after year. And therefore, I don't have to look over my shoulder about the products when I'm recommending them for people, and that's very important. So.
Lovely.